Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Monday morning. Hope everyone had a good weekend as well. So, this is a good number now, so we should be able to start. So, hello everyone. How are you doing today? My name is Mitch Kanyara, and I'm a trader with Afriforex. I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we're looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. So as usual, we do have John is here in the back office, so he'll be here to assist in whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box. John will be there to respond to you. But remember, if you do have any questions that you'd like me to respond to, kindly ask those questions on the Q&A section. So we can jump straight into it. So as usual, we'll start off with sharing my screen. So as usual, we'll always start off with the watch list. So now, according to our watch list today and on Friday, so let's look at what our watch list was looking like on Friday. So on Friday, our focus was for looking for selling opportunities on the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the euro. And we're looking to mix and match these three pairs with all these other pairs on the buy side. Now, today, there has been a big exodus of a number of pairs from the buy side. So on Friday, we're looking at the selling of the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the euro. That's still the same situation today. We have the Australian dollar, the New Zealand dollar, as well as the euro. However, we have the US dollar, the Canadian dollar, as well as the British pound that have moved to the sell side. So our focus today will only be looking for buying opportunities on the yen and the Swiss franc pairs. So we're going to look and mix and match both these pairs with all these pairs on the sell side. So we'll jump straight into, let's adjust something here quickly. We'll jump straight into our pairs that we did have on Friday, but we're not going to be looking at today. We see what did end up happening. Remember, we did mention this past weekend, there was the Jackson Hole Symposium that we did end up expecting a lot of volatility, and we did end up seeing a lot of that on the US dollar pairs as well as the Canadian dollar pairs. At least today, not necessarily much in terms of fundamentals. We have some Swiss franc fundamentals coming out later, as well as some euro news. So just make sure you are in the Telegram channel for that. So looking at the pairs that we did have on Friday, that we're not going to be looking at today, we'll start off with the British pound against the Australian dollar. You can see these three areas that we were looking for buying opportunities after the price did manage to go to the upside. However, it seems that Friday was the day for the pullbacks, because you can see from 10 o'clock, we're so close within the seller's area, we started getting the price coming down lower. At 4:30, there was a lot of volatility that happened in most of these pairs. And you can see at 4:30, once the price came down very aggressive, you can see on the pullback, price was holding up below. So at that point in time, no buying opportunity. You can see the price still didn't manage to come all the way back to our main buyers area. And right now, it does seem to be reacting during the Asian session. But unfortunately, these are pairs that could potentially give us issues, because both the British pound and the Australian dollar are meant to be showing us some weakness today. So we might find this price action just ranging today. So unfortunately, these are pairs that's going to be off our watch list. Now, similar situation, we have the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, on Friday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities, and you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, during the London market open, price was within this seller's area, and it did look as if we could potentially find this price actually coming down lower. And you can see that 3 o'clock, it actually attempted to try and come down low, but not once did the price actually hold below. And at 4:30, that's when the prices really did take off to the upside. You can see this, the Canadian dollar pairs. So we'll end up seeing that correlation. That's happened on the Canadian dollar pairs as well as the US dollar pairs. So once the price really came up aggressive, broke and hold above this area, this pair did fall off our watch list. So moving on to the next pair, we did have the Australian dollar against the US dollar. Similar situation. You can see our bias on Friday was to look for selling opportunities. We did see the pullback coming in. Price looked nicely as it was holding within this area, but nothing happened during the London session. But you can see the price reached and held above within this particular location. And at 4:30, that's when the price was actually holding above. And you can see the movement that did end up happening, bringing in a lot of US dollar weakness. And we'll see a lot of that on most of these pairs. You can see once it did break and hold above this area, this pair really did fall off our watch list. And this is not a pair that we're going to be looking at today. So moving on to the next pair, we did have similar situation. We had the British pound against the New Zealand dollar. Something happened with the British pound pairs. The strength that we're expecting did not come in, and you can clearly see at 10 o'clock, or at least during the Frankfurt market open, the price did end up attempting to go breaking this area to the upside. Remember, I did also point out we did have this level where the sellers seem to have been holding at that point in time. We're able to get a breach and hold above, which at 10 o'clock it did. There was a small hold. But you can see once it approached this main seller's area, the big boys were not really interested in taking it any higher. You can see the pullback that did come in. Similar situation at around 4:30, there was a lot of volatility. Remember, as we did point out, the Jackson Hole Symposium would end up bringing in that volatility. And you can see the price came down. Once it broke and held below, you can see it breached the downside, shrink confirmation, it held to the downside. Then this pair did fall off our watch list. So unfortunately as well today, it's not going to be a pair that we're going to be looking at. So next pair we did have was the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. We were meant to look for selling opportunities. You can see the price was holding within this particular area. But remember, we did point out we wanted the price breaching and holding below. But you can see every time it attempted to do that, right? Every time it attempted to break this area to the downside, it kept on coming straight back in, showing us a probe. You can see at 4:30, that's when the price really did break this area to the upside. And you can see once it breached the upside, it gave confirmation that the price was actually holding above. And that meant this pair did fall off our watches. So you can see a lot of Canadian dollar weakness as well as US dollar weakness that did come in at 4:30. So you can see the similar correlation. We did have the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. Our bias was to look for selling opportunities. You can see how the market was. We're pulling back, approaching this seller's area. Wanted to see how whether or not these sellers were going to react. But no big boys reacted during the London session. And at 4:30, that US dollar weakness that really did come in. That's the reason why this is a pair that's going to be off our watch list for today. So moving on to the next pair we did have. Now, the Euro pairs, even though we did have, or at least they have switched sides, they did end up working quite a bit. You can clearly see on Friday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities. During the London session, may I say, you can see the price managed to break this area to the downside. We got a pullback, showing us confirmation that the price is actually holding above below this area. So that gave us a nice confirmation to be able to look for sells. And the sells did work out quite nicely, but it seems it mainly worked out during the London session, because you can see once the US session came in at 3 o'clock, you can see not much has happened. This price has actually just been holding between these levels, just ranging. That just shows that the big boys are actually not interested in this at that point in time. So unfortunately, even though the trade worked out during the London session, nothing much during the US session, and today it's not a pair that we're going to be focusing on. Now, moving on to the next pair for review, we did have the Euro against Canadian dollar. You can see the Euro pairs worked out very nicely during the London session. This is where we end up using correlation. You can see at 10 o'clock, the price managed to come down lower, was holding below this area. We could have looked for a nice selling opportunity, because you can see from 10 o'clock, the price managed to come all the way down. We do end up mentioning, make sure you manage your trade within these problem areas, because you can see at 3 o'clock, that's when the US price was within this particular buyer's area. But you can see once the price looked as if it was breaking this area to the downside, if we got the pullback and the price actually held below, then we could have actually been able to continue looking for sells. But remember, there was that US dollar and Canadian dollar weakness that did come in at 4:30. You can see at 4:30, that's when the price was at the most bottom area right here, showing us evidence that this actually was just a probe. And it gave confirmation, because once the price broke to the upside and came back in, it was actually holding above. So you can clearly see, even though it does still seem to be ranging, that's what we're expecting with pairs that are both on the same side. But unfortunately, it's a pair that we are personally not going to be looking at today. So last but not least, we did have the Euro against the US dollar. Similar situation, our bias was to look for selling opportunities during the London session. So you can see at 10 o'clock where the price was, we did end up approaching this seller's area nicely. We did end up getting a nice selling opportunity coming down. Remember, we always point out, make sure you manage your trade within these problem areas. At 3, we did get the price coming down a bit lower, but at 4:30, that's when things really did change. So you can see that happened on most of these pairs. A lot of US dollar weakness and Canadian dollar weakness during the New York Stock Exchange Open. Unfortunately, once this price broke this area to the upside, you can see the confirmation. Once the price pulled back, it confirmed that this price is actually holding above this particular area. And that's when this pair did fall off our watches. You can clearly see it confirmed that the price is actually holding above that area. So that's it for all the review pairs. You can see things did end up going quite a bit hectic on Friday. Remember, we did end up pointing that out. Today, there's not necessarily that much news, but we end up expecting there could still be some. But remember, today, during the London session, might end up being a bit slow. It is a bank holiday in the UK, but that doesn't mean the euro will not necessarily move, because you can see we do have some German news later on. So there have been some Swiss franc fundamentals as well. So we could end up finding some things actually moving during the London market as well. So that's it for all the pairs that we did have for review. So we'll jump on to today's pairs. And remember, since this being Monday, we don't necessarily showcase screenshots, but if you do manage to take any setup based on things that we do share, feel free to send them in to us. I think there should be a link right there in the chat box. So let's jump straight into today's pairs. So we'll start off with the yen pairs, mix and match them with the pairs on the sell side. Do the same thing with the Swiss franc before we do have a look at the indices as well as gold and silver. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, this is a pair that we did have on Friday, and we will be also having it today. So you can see the three areas that we had pointed out on Friday. We've adjusted the level slightly. But during the London session at 10 o'clock, the price did end up starting to give us more of the pullback. We didn't manage to get all the way to the extreme area where we did want to end up looking for selling opportunities. Although this was around 4:30 during the New York Stock Exchange, it was a bit messy, but you can still see the price did end up still reacting within the main seller's area before attempting to come down. And you can clearly see the areas that we had pointed out. If you waited for breaks to the downside, prices to hold, they did end up giving us some nice opportunities there as well. But today, since we've adjusted the level slightly, our bias here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. We do have the aggressive sellers area right there at the top. So I know most of you guys here are veterans, so you don't know which levels are which. However, the aggressive sellers area is always the red support and resistance area. If we're looking for sales, we'll always find the red support and resistance area at the top. If we're looking for buyers, we'll always find it as a support. So right now, the fact that the price has come down lower, remember, most people know the structure of a market. Or if someone says, well, how does a downtrend look like? Most people will say lower lows and lower highs, or higher highs and higher lows for an uptrend. However, when actually coming down to trade, you don't necessarily end up following that. So right now, if we've just broken this level to the downside and made a new low, what we need is a pullback somewhere that will end up giving us a lower high so that we can potentially look for those sales to come down lower. So since the price has come down lower, we're within a bias area. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. So we'll watch to see how the price ends up approaching this area. We're able to get a selling opportunity within there once the price approaches this location. And remember, if it's there within one of the market opening times, we could end up finding some nice selling opportunities there. However, remember, if the price does manage to continue, so if we do end up getting a break of this area to the downside, it's still the same situation. We'll need the price to give us a pullback to confirm that that level is actually holding. And if we do end up seeing that, then we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities there. So if we do get the price coming down lower, we get the price actually holding below, we should be good to go. And remember, watch out for the price market opening time. You can clearly see the times that we point out. 10 o'clock, you will find some movements happening. 3 o'clock, you'll find some movement, as well as 4:30. So the objective is to find out what pair is actually moving and to see what time the big boy is actually going to be interested in those pairs. So hope that's clear for the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. Quite clear cut. We're waiting for this pullback to come in for us to look for those selling opportunities. Now, moving on to the next pair, we do have the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. Now, on Friday, our bias was to look for selling opportunities, but this pair did fall off our watch list quite quickly. As you can see, we did have these three areas looking for those sells. Now, during the London session open, the price was within this seller's area, so we wanted to see what kind of reaction we'd end up getting. But as soon as the price broke this area to the upside and held above, it did end up falling off our watch list. Now, even though it has come back in today during the Asian session, we'll still be looking for selling opportunities. Remember, most of the time, these pairs end up going to stop people up, inciting many people to look for a trade in one direction before you find the pair actually moving in the main direction that it wants to. So overall today, we'll still be looking for these selling opportunities. You can see the three areas that we will be watching out for. So right now, I've just breached this area to the downside. We want to see, hopefully we can end up getting the price giving us some sort of small pullback, but don't necessarily start jumping in on yourselves just now. You can see there seems to be a small range, or at least a small bias area, which seems to be holding. So the fact that these bias have not been able to be broken just yet, we could end up giving some issues where you could end up finding the price actually giving us more of a pullback before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So we'll see what ends up happening. But remember, as you can see, the yen pairs are quite correlated, or very well correlated. So if you see one pulling back, have a look at the other pairs, you could end up finding them pulling back as well. So moving on to the next euro pair we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. On Friday, we did have this kind of pair looking for selling opportunities as well. You can see the price during the London market open. Nothing much happened. We didn't end up getting the price actually giving us more of the pullback coming in. At 3, nothing much happened, but it was only at 4:30 when the price actually started coming to the downside. So that's actually when it did end up giving us an opportunity. But it might have been a bit difficult to get. As you can see, the price did end up looking as if it did reach this area to the downside, but the test there might have been a bit difficult to get. However, today, you can clearly see the price still managed to continue coming down lower, and our bias here is still going to be continue to look for selling opportunities. So we'll focus on these three areas to look for these sells. So aggressive sellers right there at the top. You can see the same correlation coming in with these yen pairs. Will come down. We seem to be in some sort of small range. So if you see the prices breaking, so if you find one of these pairs actually breaking this area to the downside, when you see it falling below, have a look at the other ones. If they're all doing the same thing, then you know that the yen pairs are on the move. The big boys are actually interested in that pair. You see the pullback coming in during the London session, then you know the big boys are not yet interested in it, or at least the London big boys are not interested in it, and that just means we're getting a better price. So at that point in time, we'll wait to see what happens during the US move. Are the US big boys actually going to be interested in it? If not, that's why a number of times you find if nothing happens during the London and US session, you'll find during the Asian session, that's when things will actually end up moving. So hope that's clear on the euro against the yen. So moving on, here we have a brand new entry on our watch list, and here we have the US dollar against the Japanese yen. You can clearly see that US dollar weakness at 430 that came in. So the same correlation is coming in with all these US dollar pairs. But just because they can see that US dollar weakness that's coming, not just start jumping in on selling opportunities just yet. We need those pullbacks to come in. You do not want to sell at such a low price. Obviously, if you want to make your profit on any item that you're looking to sell, you try and sell it at the highest price. So if you know the price is going to go higher, just be a bit patient, wait for the price to go up higher a bit before we're able to look for those sells. Because right now, it's so obvious to everyone. If anyone is jumping in on their sells, it's very easy for them to get stopped out. So you could easily find the prices actually end up going to the upside. By the time it looks as if it's breaking above this seller's area right here, most people will start jumping in on buys. Don't be surprised you see the price actually coming back in, showing us a probe. And if you do see that within one of those market opening times, remember 10, 3, or 4:30, because that indicates when the big boy is actually going to be interested. Or have a look at the timings of when the news event. If there's any US dollar news event, have a look at them. If it's going to be coming out at, you can clearly see here, 3:30. You could end up finding at 3:30, that's when the prices could actually end up moving. So we do mention the market opening times, but also watch out for the times and the prices, or at least there could be fundamentals for those pairs. So hope that's clear on the US dollar against the yen. As we move on to the next yen pair, here we have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. Similar correlation, you can see there the prices have really come down. The main sellers pushing down from this area, and that was at 4:30 on Friday. So you can clearly see the same correlation coming in. Did end up breaking a major support and resistance area, and right now we're back within a bias area. So as usual, with the fact that the price is actually breached area to the downside, you can see we've not necessarily made any new lows just yet. What we want to see is hopefully a pullback coming in. And remember, watch out, since this is the yen pairs, watch out for that correlation, because you could end up finding some nice correlation coming in with all of them. So if you see the prices pulling back, have a look at all of them. You could end up finding some nice pullbacks coming in. If the prices, all these of them break this area to the downside and hold below, then we should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities as well on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So pretty clear cut on our game plan of what we're looking at the Canadian dollar against the yen. So as we're moving on to the next yen pair, we do have the British pound against the Japanese yen, brand new entry on our watch list, and you can clearly see that same correlation that's coming in with the yen. Yen is starting to show us a lot of strength, which is what we want to see. So we'll be waiting to see if we can grab these selling opportunities based on these three areas. So aggressive sellers right there at the top. You can see the same correlation. All these pairs pretty much, all these yen pairs pretty much look the same. Prices have really come down, and we do seem to be in some sort of small range. So we'll wait for one or two things. I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but that's exactly what ends up happening. Remember, it's not necessarily meant to be exciting. Trading is not meant to be exciting. You're meant to just be following the exact same thing over and over again. The exciting part is the money that you make at the end, or at least the reward for you following your trading plan. So right now, let's wait to see what ends up happening, either a pullback, or if the price reaches to the downside and holds below, you should be able to continue looking for those selling opportunities here as well. So hope that's clear on the yen pairs. As you can see, I'll mix and match the yen with all the pairs on the sell side. So right now we're going to do the same thing with the Swiss franc pairs before we do have a look at gold, silver, as well as the indices. So starting off with the Australian dollar against Swiss franc, we did end up having this kind of pair on Friday. Unfortunately, the sell did not work out for us. You can clearly see during the London session, well, within the seller's area. But if you look at how the buyers came in and the way the sellers came down, the buyers not necessarily look sorry, the sellers did not necessarily look as strong. So the market did end up continuing to go to the upside. So no probe within here. Price is holding above this area. Wanted to see whether or not the price would react in the main sellers area since we had it here. But once it broke this area to the upside, you can see that was around 430, and it actually ended up holding above. It did end up falling off our watch. However, today the price is still, at least the buyers is still going to be looking for sales. You can see as the price came down, we get the price coming back to a main sellers area. It seems like we needed to approach these main sellers before we do end up getting these selling opportunities available for us. So overall, we'll still be looking for selling opportunities, but we'll be watching out for these new levels right there. So we have the red support and resistance area. So remember, with this red SNR, the price breaks and falls above that level. This pair will fall off our watch list. We'll no longer be looking for selling opportunities because that will indicate that the buyers are still there. Plus, the market structure, it will be giving us higher highs and higher lows. But for now, as the price has come down, let's hope to see if we can end up getting some sort of pullback coming in. Since this price did look as if it probed within that area, we do get the price approaching that location instead within one of the market opening times, we could end up finding some nice selling opportunities there. We do get the price continuing to come down lower because you can see, we could find that these buyers are not interested. If the price breaks and holds below, then we should also be able to continue looking for those selling opportunities as well on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So hope that's clear, at least on what we're looking at doing. No sign of big boy sellers just yet. So that's the reason why I'm expecting the prices to at least come up a bit higher. Be very interested to see how the price approaches this location, with potentially looking for those selling opportunities there. So similar story that ended up happening with the New Zealand dollar against Swiss franc. Remember, our buyers was to look for selling opportunities. These are the three areas that we did have on Friday. Unfortunately, you can't see the price. They don't necessarily get those strong sellers coming in. The buyers actually came in and was holding above. For that point in time, no selling opportunity just yet. You can see at 3 and 4:30, the price actually started taking off to the upside. Wanted to see what would happen within this seller's area, but it seems nothing much. The fact that the price broke and held above, this pair did fall off our watch list at that point in time. However, today, the buyers here is still going to be looking for selling opportunities, and we'll focus on these three areas. So right now, we're within an area where there are buyers, so we're not going to jump in on any selling opportunities just yet. We need the same story that's going to be happening on the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. Either getting a pullback coming in within this particular area before we're able to look for selling opportunities, or potentially, if we do get the price breaching and holding below this particular buyer's area, you should be able to continue looking for selling opportunities, but do make sure you manage your trade within this area. These are areas which will definitely give us issues. You can see the US big boys on Friday did push up within this particular buyer's area right here. So the fact that that's the case, don't be surprised if they could end up reacting again. And that's the reason why if you do manage to grab the selling opportunity, do make sure you manage your trade, because ideally that is what we will be doing. Remember, we're not trying to enter these trades expecting the prices to go all the way down, or entering a trade, then going, as soon as we enter the trade, we go to a higher time frame and start putting our take profits way further. That's not the case, or at least what we'll be looking at doing. Remember, we only focus on what we're looking at doing today. So that's the reason why we'll mainly be looking for our trading opportunities based on these three levels. So moving on to the next Swiss franc pair, we do have the euro against the Swiss franc. Now, our bias on this pair was to look for selling opportunities. The sales did work out quite nicely on Friday. During the London market open, we did get the price attempting to come down lower. Unfortunately, you can clearly see the price managed to continue going up. 4:30, we did get a bit of strength. The price did end up approaching this main seller's area. You can clearly see we still managed to actually be able to come down lower. So we'll pretty much be focusing on the same areas that we did end up having on Friday. So aggressive sellers area right there at the top. So as long as we're holding below that red SNR, our bias is to look for selling opportunities. And right now, it does seem to be quite interesting because we can see the price has broken this area to the downside. We've gotten a pullback, gotten confirmation that the price is actually holding below. But just because you've seen that, don't jump in on your selling opportunities now. That's not what we'll be telling you to do. Because remember, we always point out, buy with buyers, sell with sellers. So if you're selling here, there's an area where buyers have reacted from before. But buyers areas are levels where you've seen buyers have reacted from before. That's just that. Very simple. It's very visual that you can be able to see it. So in this situation, jumping in on a selling opportunity now could be risky because you do have these buyers right in front of you. So obviously, we would want to see, can end up getting this price coming in a bit higher. Then you should be able to look for sales. But if you look for yourselves within this buyer's area, don't be surprised that these buyers could still pull back or at least come up higher, coming even all the way to the main seller's area right there at the top. before we're able to look for those selling opportunities. So just watch out for that. But definitely we will still be looking for those selling opportunities on the euro against Swiss franc. So now, moving on to the next currency pair we do have, here we have the US dollar against Swiss franc. Remember, you can clearly see the weakness that did really come in on the US dollar pairs. But these are brand new entry on our watch list. So the US dollar and the Swiss franc were both on the same side of our watch list last time. And you can clearly see when they're on the same side, the markets tend to range, not necessarily giving us any clear opportunity. However, once at least one shows weakness and the other shows strength, it does give us some nice opportunities here. So the fact that we've broken this range to the downside, we'll be waiting to see. We can end up getting this pullback coming back in between this particular support and this area for us to look for those selling opportunities. So obviously, if we can get the price coming back in here, then that would be a very nice area to look for those sells. But if not, and we find that the price is actually just continue breaching these areas to the downside, remember, we still want to get that pullback coming in, the price holding below for us to actually look for those selling opportunities as well on the US dollar against the Swiss franc. So right now, just be patient. Let's wait to see what ends up happening on this pair. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar, Swiss franc pair, we do have the Canadian dollar against Swiss franc, brand new entry on our watch list. So overall, our bias here is to look for selling opportunities. You can see this huge range that the price seems to be on. So overall, that's the case for us as well. If we're in a range, best place to look for the sells would be at the top of the range right there. We do have a bias area, but we do seem to be breaching and falling below. So we'll be very interested to see what ends up happening on this pair. At least the fact that the price does seem to be holding below this particular area could potentially find a selling opportunity. And at least with this one, the buyers area, you can clearly see the buyers are right here. So even if you do grab a selling opportunity there, you can be able to manage your trade within this buyers area, just in case these buyers decide to react. But overall, let's wait to see what ends up happening. Let's wait to see also using correlation to see if we can end up grabbing us, waiting for a slight pullback for us to look for those sells. Remember, most people are chasing the market. So if you start jumping in on your sells now, you might end up finding that the prices could still pull back before the price are actually able to take off. So moving on to the last currency pair that we do have the British pound against Swiss franc, brand new entry on our watch list. And here, the bias is definitely to look for those selling opportunities. So we'll be focusing on these three areas. But right now, we're within an area where there are buyers. You can see there's an area of resistance, chance support. Buyers have pushed up from here before. You can see they've reacted from here as well. So this is definitely a buyer's area. So we do not want to jump in on any selling opportunity just yet. We'll get the price coming back all the way to the main seller's area for us to look for the sells. But if the price ends up coming down lower, breaking below that particular area, wait to see the pullback coming in. And if you see the price holding below, not going back up, but it actually holds below, then you could end up finding a very nice selling opportunity available for us, making sure to manage our trade within this buyer's area at the bottom as well. So we'll be watching out for that and watch out for correlation. I know we did have some Swiss franc fundamentals that are meant to be coming out. Let's see if that strength is actually the one. So we can clearly see today some Swiss franc employment levels seem to have gone up. So meaning more people are employed, which is some Swiss franc strength. So Swiss franc is still on the buy side. But just because the news has come out, don't think that now it's when the prices are really going to go. Sometimes, yes, that happens. But who is actually the one who is moving the market? Who is actually taking the price lower? Remember, it has to be a big boy. So that's the reason why we mentioned 10 o'clock. You could find that the London big boys, taking that information into consideration, actually starts seeing or looking for those buying opportunities on the Swiss franc. But if not, and you don't see any reaction at 10 o'clock, you can end up waiting to see if the US big boys are actually going to take advantage of that information. So I hope that's clear on all the currency pairs. As you can see, we've mixed and matched the two pairs on the buy side with all the pairs on the sell side. Right now, we're going to have a look at the indices before we do look at gold and silver. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. Now, on the NASDAQ, our bias was to look for buying opportunities, and you can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, the price did seem quite choppy, especially during the London session. It was quite smooth. Nothing really much happened. But as soon as the US market came in, 3 o'clock, 4:30, once the Jackson Hole Symposium was there, you can clearly see the huge volatility that was coming in. Remember, we're looking for buyers, wanted to see if the price was breaking this area to the upside. What we wanted to see on the pullback was the price holding above. This just ended up being a huge probe. You can see the price still managed to come down all the way to the bars, tested multiple times and still was able to be reactive within this particular area. Remember, but we have not yet broken this area until today. You can clearly see not once has the price actually held above, but today, that's when you can clearly see they are doing that exact same thing. So overall, we'll still pretty much have the same areas, looking for those buying opportunities. We'll be watching out for these areas. Right now, we've just broken this area to the upside. We seem to be holding above. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in as the price is holding. If we do see the price holding above, then we could be able to find a buying opportunity there. But if not, and the price comes down and holds below, chances are we could still be coming down all the way to this main buyer's area before we're able to look for those buying opportunities on the US 100. So hope that is clear, at least on the NASDAQ. As we move on to the next currency pair, or at least the next indice we do have, which is the US 30, the Dow Jones. So on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas. Nothing much happened during the Asian session, as well as even during the London session. But once the US market came in, not just any time during the US market at 4:30, you can really see the way the price really broke this area to the upside. But you can see once it did that, we did get confirmation that the price pullback was actually holding above. So that pointed out that this level has actually been broken. So any buying opportunities within these areas will do you good. And you can see the fact that even when the prices had already gone all the way till the top there, don't think that, okay, now the price has already really gone, it's not going to come back to look for your entry within the area of interest. And you can clearly see it did that, giving an opportunity to look for a buy, and did that again. And these are the situations where it incites people. Once the price goes down, many people right now at that point in time, right here, are thinking sells, but just ended up showing us that it was actually a probe, giving us another buying opportunity to the upside. So that's the reason why we'll always encourage, watch out for the market opening time and make sure a level has actually broken. So meaning it's either holding or below or above that particular area. So today, the Dow Jones, we will be continuing to look for those buying opportunities. So we identified these three areas. The fact that right now we're approached the seller's area, not a good place to look for your buying opportunities. Let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in. We do see the price holding within this first area, and it's there within one of the market opening times. We could find a nice buying opportunity here. But if not, then chances are we could even come down all the way to the extreme buyers area, all the way down to the bottom here. And you will still be looking for buys. Only once the price is able to break and hold below the red support resistance here, will we actually switch our buyers and turn into sellers on the Dow Jones. So moving on to fan favorites. So here we have silver. Now on silver, on Friday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out, looking for those buys. We also did mention there was a seller's area here we did need to watch out for. So during the London market open, we did look as if we're grinding to the upside, looked as if we're holding above, wanted to see how the price is actually going to take off. But you can clearly see the price came down, looked as if it was breaking this area to the downside, but it just ended up being a huge probe going to the upside. But now, the fact that the price did manage to go very aggressive, we're hoping to see the price pulling back to this SNR level, but it seems that this was the SNR area that it did break, and you can see the price still did manage to give us a pullback to that area. So if you do look at the 3-minute time frame, can clearly see after the price went up, can see we pulled back, held here multiple times, giving us an opportunity to look for a buy 2 times actually within that particular area before the price did manage to continue going up higher. So today, the bias here is still going to be looking for these buying opportunities. We'll pretty much be focusing on the same area. Right now, we have not actually broken this area to the upside. Could easily find that this price could end up even being a probe or something of the sort there. So wait to see what ends up happening. The fact that we're within a buyer's area, so a seller's area, and we're looking for buying opportunities, not a good thing for us. We need either a pullback or we need to end up waiting for the price to actually go to the upside, wait for some sort of pullback for us to actually continue looking for those buying opportunities on silver. But for right now, we'll actually end up being patient to wait to see. Could easily find this price actually giving us this pullback coming in within these particular areas. You see the price is holding within these particular locations, and that's when we'll be looking for buys. But overall, our bias here is definitely going to be continue buying silver. So moving on, last but not least, the fan favorite, we do have gold. Now on gold on Friday, our bias was actually to look for selling opportunities. That was just based on how the market really did come down aggressive the previous day. This was on Thursday. But Similar situation, the price was pulling back quite slowly, especially if you compare how the sellers came down with the way the buyers were grinding up slowly and slowly. Wanted to see what kind of reaction would happen within this first location. Nothing much happened. At 10 o'clock, we actually got the price breaking this area to the upside. So no sellers at that point in time. And in this situation, can see the fact that we would be looking for sells. The only way we'd be able to wait for a sell here, whether the price approaches this seller's here, or if we did get the price breaching and holding below this SNR. But you can clearly see between 3 o'clock and 4:30, the price was actually just holding above this location. That US dollar weakness that really did come in, and that's the reason why you can see also gold really going to the upside. So today, bias here is now, at least the fact that we did manage to break this area to the upside, and you can see the price was holding above. As soon as we did that, bias switched and we could be able to start looking for buying opportunities. So that's going to be the situation today on gold. Our bias is going to be looking for buys based on these three areas. Remember, we're purely technical, following an aspect we call zones that we do end up teaching within the masterclass course, as well as the AMP program that we are, at least I think there should also be a link for that if you are interested in that. So overall, we'll definitely be looking for these buys. But remember, this red support and resistance area is the line in the sand for us. Here, we need to also be very adjustable, not necessarily too rigid, saying that it's a buy and you're only sticking to buys and not realizing or seeing when the market is actually turning and turning into a sell. So that's usually what ends up happening. A lot of people's brain gets hijacked, especially once you end up entering a buy, you become a cheerleader. You're like, yes, any excuse of why the buy would work out, you end up seeing that, but you completely ignore the indications or the signals that's telling you that the sellers are positively coming in. That's the reason why we need to be very adjustable. And if the price breaks below the red SNR, we should be able to switch nicely, turn into sellers. But if we are, the fact that we're holding above, we should still be looking for buying opportunities. And the fact that we're so close within the seller's area, let's either wait for the breach, the upside, and the price holding above for us to look for those buys, or let's wait to see if we can end up getting this pullback coming in within this particular support and resistance area for us to look for those buying opportunities. So I hope that's clear in all the kinds of pairs, including the indices and gold and silver. So I can be able to address any questions on the Q&A section if there are any. So I'm seeing one. Robert Morioki is saying, hi Mitch, I saw the Fed saying it's about time they cut interest rates on the dollar. Are we in for lower dollar prices? It's a possibility. However, until they do, don't necessarily trade based on a rumor. You know, I think there's a saying, buy the rumor, sell the news, something like that, where you'll find that they will probably say this, but what does that actually mean? What are the big boys actually doing? The only way we can really identify that is based on the reaction we actually see on the charts. So the fact that even based on the way this market's moved for the US dollar pairs, remember we did end up having a look at all the US dollar pairs at 4:30, really did show a lot of weakness. However, if you do end up looking at the fundamental news that came out on Friday, it was actually a bit of positive news for the dollar, yet it showed weakness. So it's not necessarily the data that comes out fully that ends up determining whether or not a price is actually going to go up or down. It's based on what are the big boys doing. So it didn't really matter what the news said, but this move to the upside, how aggressive it was, how many pips it was, and you can see in comparison to everything else looks smaller. Those are the signs that you know these are definitely the big boys. So if the big boys are looking for US dollar weakness, then we know we are as well. But remember, they can always adjust and change, right? Based on their perspective, because they have a lot more information that you have to pay for in order for them to actually make the decision that they're doing. So we see the movements after, or at least why they're doing, or at least what they're doing in terms of, in this case, selling the dollar. But the exact reason why, they must have a lot more information to actually let us know. So it might not necessarily only be the Fed cutting interest rates, but they also could end up having other pieces of news that could end up saying that as well. So not necessarily too sure if it's just directly going to translate to that. However, we will be keen on it, but that's what the expectation would be. For the increased interest rates, it could be a lower dollar amount because less people are willing to actually put their money in dollars because they'll be earning less, right? But at the same time, is it something that could stabilize the dollar? So you'd find maybe in fact, it's a good thing for investors because it's now more secure. So more people might put their money in the dollar. And that's the reason why with economics, there's so many variables. You can't only necessarily say one thing is going to affect everything. Right? But either way, we're going to be here every day with you guys. So at least when there is any changes to the dollar or any big news event, we will actually end up letting you know on that. So hope that is clear for you, Robert. So I'm not seeing any more questions, which is okay. At least that gives us a few minutes to be able to jump onto the chart, or at least be able to analyze and see what actually pairs are actually moving today, whether or not the big boys are actually going to be interested in these Swiss franc pairs. Remember, we did have some Swiss franc news that just came out, whether or not we're going to be seeing that strength coming in on the Swiss franc, and we could end up seeing more of it coming out at during the London market open. So that's something you guys should end up watching out for. At least that's what we will be doing. So I guess that's it from me and from us, since I'm not seeing any more questions. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. Hope you guys have found value in this session. And remember, if you do manage to take any setups based on things that we do share, feel free to send them into us. Our contact details are in the chat box. And remember, the final sign up for the AMP class is up and running. I know a number of you guys, we come here every day looking for at least tell you guys buy this, sell this, buy this, but how do you actually able to actually go through each and every one pair, look to see which one are you meant to buy, which one are you meant to sell? Where is the big boys actually putting their money? Where is the correlation? These aspects of now when you are looking for an entry, what exactly should you be waiting for? That's what we go through within the AMP, and we do that every day. So we'll come here after the analysis, we'll literally look at the charts, identify each and every pair, what's happening, what can we do, where is there trading potential, and hopefully learning from that as well. So if you are interested in something like that, program like that, feel free to sign in. There should be a link in the chat box, but you can be able to go to Afriforex.com and you can be able to just sign up and we'll give you a call once you do. That's the reason why you should have at least a number that has WhatsApp, so at least we should be able to contact you as well. So I guess that's it from me, from us. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. Remember, this is the watch list. Not necessarily much changes, but if there are any changes, because we do have some Euro fundamentals, we will inform you on the Telegram channel. So once again, thank you guys so much. Have an amazing trading day. God bless. Happy trading and bye for now. Cheers, guys.